essentially, if you start looking at the different mechanisms, how our knee moves, whether it is a native knee, then we'll predominantly find that the exact amount of resistance that there is essentially provided by the ligaments. When you move to a CR bearing, it's the PCL tension which is important, and especially from the mid to deep flexion, this engages and you are likely to have instability in the early to the mid flexion range. And when you move to the PS bearing, I think the whole engagement is provided, which is completely design dependent. And of course, what is going to resist your jump is going to be the post height and the width. And instability can again occur between the early and the mid flexion. So it's important to differentiate these two philosophical aspects. The ML instability should not be confused with your antero-posterior instability, which essentially is a function of the balance between your ACL and your PCL. Most of us will always remove the ACL, and essentially how you balance the PCL, that will tell you the amount of AP instability that you're left with. So let's look at this data that was published from the American Joint Replacement Registry, and clearly last year's data shows that the number of users in any form of medial stabilized knees have gone up exponentially, whereas the amount of users with the posterior stabilized design have gone down. And if you look at the cumulative revision rates of all of these, you'd find that at the end of about 7 years, most of them have equivocal revision rates or failure rates around 2%. So why are we talking about these newer poly designs? Is it to do with patient dissatisfaction, which is related predominantly to mid-flexion instability and non-physiologic kinematics? And these newer bearings probably are trying to attempt to address the issue of this paradoxical anterior slide, especially in flexion. The ultra-congruent inserts have been shown to have better intraoperative flexibility, especially when the PCL balance is uncertain, and this is compounded by the fact that most of them have equal survivorship data. So very quickly, the ultra-congruent insert is an anterior lipped, deep dished PCL substituting insert, which does not have a cam and post. When should you use it? Of course, when you fail to achieve the perfect intraoperative PCL balance, if you're doing a CR knee with the polo test, then that's what you should use. But the trade-off is that it may lead to restriction of femoral rotation, which may lead to increased stress forces, especially at the tibia. What do all the different studies show? They show that probably the satisfaction rates are better and the patellofemoral problems are higher, especially if you're using a PS. Another RCT with kinematic aligned TKA showing that the knee society function and pain scores are far better if you use an ultra-congruent over a CS or a PS with significantly shorter surgical time. We come to the next one, which is the medial pivot. And the medial pivot is the same as a medial stabilized. It is not the same as a medial congruent. So the MP equals the MS, and both of them are different from the MC, which is what we need to differentiate. The medial pivot has an asymmetric polybearing. The medial side is a spherical single radius medial femoral component, and you have a fully congruent medial compartment with a ball and socket geometry, which is going to give you increased sagittal stability, and you have a less congruent lateral compartment, which is going to allow the lateral femoral condyle to roll and slide with flexion. And your MP or your MS implant should demonstrate full congruency on the medial side in the entire arc of flexion. On the other hand, a medial congruent is again an asymmetric insert. The medial side is concave but not spherical. The lateral side is relatively flat. You usually have this coupled with a multi-radius femur, which is very important if you're using an MC type, and the stability is definitely increased, but it is not fixed like the MP or the MS. So the medial congruent design is going to assist motion. The medial pivot design is going to drive the motion. The medial congruent design will aim for medial stability. The medial pivot design is going to enforce your medial pivot kinematics, and that is how you do it. How do you essentially do a true MP? You're going to resect both the ACL and the PCL. You can do your measured resection and your gap balancing. You need to have a completely medial flexion extension gap on the medial side. On the lateral side, you want to leave it loose by about 2 or 3 millimeters in flexion, and that's how you're going to have your proper MP balance when you're doing a proper MP design, and you should be able to see this very good conformity on the medial side with a bit of sort of glide and rotation on the lateral side, which is what you want to see. Again, good data that shows that if you compare the AP stability for a medial stabilized, both at 45 and 90 degrees of flexion, you can see that the PS design has a larger amount of AP glide, which is statistically significant. And this translates to different satisfaction indexes. If you do comparative studies and RCTs and case control studies, you find that the MP design does a far better job with the same. So I think to conclude, if you have you're using an ultra-congruent, then you are going to get moderate to high AP stability. If you go to a medial congruent, you'll get a high AP stability, but if you use a medial pivot, you'll get the highest amount of AP stability with a physiologic lateral rollback. So where do we stand today? I think we've evolved with different philosophies. We went from a multi-radius to a single radius, and now we are at the medial pivoting kinematics, and God knows what is next in store for us. We'll have probably another bearing as we continue to evolve our understanding. Thank you.